Is the Rey movie happening again? Maybe it's more than a movie. Things are developing behind the scenes that we'll never know. Well, I mean, at some point we're going to know, but I have no idea what's going on with this movie. But we're going to talk about it because there might be something to talk about. Hey everyone, this is Digital Charcuterie. My name is James. Thank you so much for stopping by. If you're new to this channel, if you like Rey Skywalker, if you like Star Wars, hit that subscribe button. We're going to talk about it all the time. If you're frustrated with Star Wars, hit that subscribe button. We talk about it all the time. I've been talking about Star Wars on YouTube for 9 years now on the REY podcast. I have so much fun doing it. It is very frustrating, though. Has been frustrating since the Last Jedi. Let's call a spade, and we're going to call it that. But also, you know what? When you just remove yourself from all the nonsense, it's fun. It can still be fun. It usually is fun. Every once in a while, you get a diamond in the rough. You get an Andor. You get a Mando season 1, 2, all the fun stuff. And you get everyone's favorite book of Boba Fett. But I want to talk about Rey Skywalker. Finn says Rey. Everyone yells Rey. And this Rey movie that was announced at Star Wars Celebration in 1901. It's like it's the movie is. Will it happen? Will it won't happen? It's been on and off again. They have a director, but things are going behind the scenes. Maybe not. Fans are hating on the director. Daisy Ridley has to come out weekly to say something about this movie, to say, hey, fans, stay tuned. Things are happening. You don't know. You're going to be very excited. But now, Scooper Daniel RPK has some information. I got to pull this image up right here. I'm getting this from Cosmic Marvel on the Twitterverse. Lucasfilm plans for the Star Wars New Jedi Order era have reportedly been revealed. It will be similar to the Mandoverse. It will begin with Daisy Ridley's upcoming film. It will gradually build toward a major event that brings together characters introduced in the Rey movie and past films. So there you have it. Daniel RPK, very credible with his knowledge here. He's not credited in this picture, but it is via Daniel RPK. You can check that out on Twitter if you go to Cosmic Marvel's site. So there you have it. Similar to the Mandoverse, so makes me laugh. I'll begin with Daisy Ridley's upcoming film, and it will gradually build toward a grand event, which all sounds wonderful, but it sounds like something that probably they should have figured out a long time ago with any aspect of Star Wars. Now, on one hand, this is very exciting. On the other hand, it's similar to the Mandoverse, and I don't know exactly what they mean by that. But I've been saying on the podcast for a long time is one thing that the Mandoverse does and does very well is the directing, and it's the storytelling. And whether you like the stories or not, this whatever. But what they've done though with Jon Favreau, Filoni, and co have really done is especially if you look at the first season of The Mandalorian, they had those roundtable discussion, that show. The round table, the gallery show, I believe it was called. And they all sat there and they were like, this is what we're talking about. This is our ideas. And they had the directors bouncing ideas off of the showrunner, off of the producers, off of everyone. And everyone kind of had this idea, and they were all in line. They were all in tow. They all had the same singular vision of what this series should be and what we should get from this series, but they're all individual minds as well. And it's something that I think Marvel did early on, kind of with their stuff. But Star Wars never really figured that out. I mean, even with the sequel trilogy, you had J.J. Abrams, Rian Johnson, J.J. Abrams, and they were oil and water, and they just never really clicked together. And then they obviously didn't flesh out that story and figure it out. They never figured out what they were doing from the beginning with that trilogy, so it just kind of was made up as it went along. And while I think you can't obviously get away with that. I think George Lucas got away with that a lot in what he was doing. Even though he probably had an end in sight, and for all of them, he kind of made things up as he went. But you can get away with it, but at the same time, you have to have a path and a direction. And so what I think bodes well for this Rey universe thing that they're doing is that they're gonna, is that it seems like it will be charted. Like there's this beginning, middle, and possibly an end, or there's a beginning and an end at least. And the middle can take you wherever you want to take you. Now, whether or not this is the Simon Kinberg thing that he's working on or not, it could encompass a lot of it, right? It could be the New Jedi Order film that might not be New Jedi Order with Daisy Ridley as Rey, and then you could put into that trilogy, and it can go beyond, right? You're not going to handcuff yourself to say just 3 movies. You can move beyond the 3 movies, which I think is a brilliant idea, a great idea, and a necessary idea for Star Wars. I love that Star Wars lives in the trilogy world, but movies, the theatrical experience is almost dead in a lot of cases. I mean, obviously there's an anomaly here and there, and then the objection to every rule. But the reality is is movie theaters are dead and they're changing, and the way we view movies are changing for better or for worse. And I think the trilogy dynamic of what they did is archaic in a way. uh, People, TV has evolved and has found a way to evolve, and for viewers to evolve with it and accept what it is. And now, it's not, if you look at a show like Smallville from 20 plus years ago, it started off freak of the week, freak of the week, freak of the week. And back then it was like, fine, whatever, freak of the week. This is the show. This is what it's about. And eventually it evolved into what it became. But nowadays you can't start with the freak of the week. We need it to be already 3-4 seasons into that series, for us to stay tuned in with it, right? You look at like Stranger Things, it's not freak of the week, it's episodic, but it's not. It's like this big one long movie that's chopped up into pieces. And this is what people have become accustomed to watching on television. And movies haven't figured this out yet. And movies are pretty much the same thing, just a longer version of each thing chopped up now, right? Because that's the way Marvel's kind of operated. And so I think, what they're doing makes a lot of sense. And this is something that they should have figured out eons ago, is that you have Rey in this movie, you tell this little story about Rey, and then the galaxy is off doing what it's doing, and then Rey can be sprinkled in here and there, and you figure it out. And then obviously the team up stuff, that's what everybody wants. Sure, I think it worked. I think Star Wars was built for this. To me, Star Wars is and always will be more Lord of the Rings than Marvel. But Marvel is what's dominating the box office. And even Lord of the Rings now wants to be Marvel. Everybody wants to be Marvel. And I think the only way to do that is scope. You got to figure out the scope. And the thing, Marvel movies are guilty of this as well. But everything has gone kind of way too big. Like all of a sudden, like everything is just massive for whatever reason, and you got to tone it down a little bit. We want these. Sometimes you got to just have like a nice, small, intimate story about character, and we can all figure it out. Now, obviously, Star Wars has to be flashy and stuff, but Star Wars is rooted in silence. C-3PO roams that desert for 4.5 hours, and there's just John Williams' beautiful score playing. There's silence. There's not much going on. Jawa's speaking gibberish. R2 beep beep boop boop, and then 3PO like there's not much there. That is like the foundation of Star Wars. Like that is so great. And then and then from there you can have your explosions and stuff. But you got to figure it out. You got to be character driven. And I think this is a great idea for Rey. I think what they I think using the Mandoverse as their basis is smart, because I think the Mandoverse also works. They've done, I know people feel that season 3 kind of went off a cliff and Boba Fett and all that, but I just think like the way that they were able to grow and flesh it out, that when like Bo-Katan arrives and these other characters and Frog Lady, when these characters arrive, you're not questioning it. You don't second guess it. You just kind of go along with it because you've bought into it. So look, the Rey movie itself, for this to work, the first Rey movie has to be a home run, right? It has to be a brilliant play. It has to be something that we all buy into, that we all love. It has to be the strongest story. And I've said it before and I've said it again. The villain has to be substantial. We need an epic villain that's just not a carbon copy of Sheevy P or Darth Maul or Jabba the Hutt. We need something special in this. Like the Mandoverse can get away with having more Hutts and doing that stuff and bringing in whatever, if they want to bring in Maul or Kira or whatever, they can get away with that. But I think this Rey thing needs to be unique. And there has to be a big threat, and this threat has to gradually grow. They demolish the first threat, like Darth Vader in New Hope. That's your threat, but really it's Sheevy P. It's the Palps. Right? He's the big threat, but you don't. But you don't realize that until it goes on and on and on. So I think you figure out the villain, you figure out your story, you figure out your whole Reyverse, and that's it. And I think it makes sense. And I hope this happens, because I'm just sick of hearing about it. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Is a Reyverse a good idea? Do you like the direction they're taking it? Do you think it's smart? Do you think it's the right way to go, like I just said? Or should they just let Rey be Rey? Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Give us a like and a subscribe. And until next time, may the force of others be with you.